What if a 9-year-old child in duct-taped boots told you he could heal your paralyzed daughter, then proved it? It happened on a bitter morning in Birmingham, Alabama. The kind of cold that stung fingertips and made every breath visible. Crowds hurried in and out of the children's medical center, clutching coffee cups, rushing as if speed could outrun sickness. But one figure didn't move. A boy, sitting on a flattened cardboard box near the revolving doors. His name was Ezekiel Carter, Zeke, only 9 years old. His coat swallowed him whole, the sleeves rolled back. A red beanie drooped over his ears. One boot patched with silver duct tape. He didn't beg. He didn't ask. He sketched in a battered notebook and watched, always watching. He appeared most Saturdays. Security tried to push him away at first, but he caused no trouble. Staff eventually left him alone. He belonged without explanation. Most people assumed he was waiting for someone inside. Maybe a sick sibling, maybe a parent. No one asked questions, not in a place where pain was routine. Across the street, a silver Range Rover idled by a hydrant. Inside sat Jonathan Reeves, late, 40s, jaw hard, temples gray. His tie was loose, his face hollow. Wealth was written in the shine of his car, but exhaustion hollowed his eyes. In the back, a booster seat held his daughter, Issa, 6 years old. Once she climbed trees and raced cousins across the yard. Now she sat beneath a pink blanket, silent, paralyzed from the waist down after the accident. Jonathan lifted her carefully, as though she might break in his arms. Her gaze stayed locked on the sky, refusing the building in front of her. That was when Zeke stood. His small voice cut through the winter air. "Sir, I can make your daughter walk again." Jonathan froze. Not from anger, not from disbelief, but from the weight of how the words were spoken. Calm, certain, like truth. He turned, eyes narrowing. "What did you say?" Zeke stepped forward, notebook pressed against his chest. "I can help her walk again." Jonathan's arms tightened around Issa. His voice sharpened. "That's not funny." "I wasn't joking." Zeke's tone never wavered. No smile, no hesitation. Just a stillness too old for a boy his age. Jonathan saw the taped boot, the cracked glasses hanging from Zeke's collar. A street kid with nothing. This had to be nonsense. A scam. He walked on without another word, but the words clung to him. "I can make your daughter walk again, through every appointment, every sterile office, every rehearsed phrase from doctors and therapists. Managing expectations, long road ahead, miracles take time." The boy's voice stayed, a whisper he couldn't silence. And when Jonathan returned to the car that afternoon, Issa resting light in his arms, Zeke was still there, still waiting. She smiled faintly and drummed her fingers on the armrest of her wheelchair as if they were tiny legs walking again. Jonathan didn't smile. For the first time in months, he felt something inside. It wasn't relief. It wasn't peace. It was more dangerous. It was hope. Harrington Park was the kind of place people passed without seeing. A cracked basketball court, rusted swings that shrieked on their chains, grass that tried to be a soccer field. On Sundays, it was empty. But not that day. Zeke was already waiting. Same oversized jacket. But the notebook was gone. In its place, a small gym bag and a folded towel on the bench. At 12:07, Jonathan's SUV pulled up. He lifted Issa carefully, set her in her chair, and wheeled her forward. His jaw was tight, his arms crossed. He looked like a man who regretted showing up. Zeke stood. "Hi again," he said. Jonathan gave only a nod. Issa waved shyly. Zeke's face softened. "Hi, Issa." Her eyes brightened. "Hi," Jonathan frowned. "How do you know her name?" "You said it yesterday." "I remember things." Jonathan's tone hardened. "So, what now? Magic tricks?" No, sir. Just the basics. Zeke opened his bag. Socks, a tennis ball, a jar of cocoa butter, and a cloth pouch filled with warm rice. Jonathan squinted. What is all that? My mom's tools, Zeke said. The rice loosens muscles. The ball finds pressure points. He turned to Issa. If it's okay, can I work with your legs for a while? Nothing painful. If it feels wrong, just say stop. Issa looked at her father. Jonathan sighed. Go ahead. But be careful. Zeke knelt by the chair, unwrapped the blanket, and set the warm rice pack across her thighs. Issa flinched. Too hot? She shook her head. Feels good. Minutes passed. He began to move her legs. Gentle, controlled, no forcing. Jonathan's eyes followed every motion, ready to intervene, but nothing went wrong. You ever done this before? Jonathan asked. Zeke didn't look up. My mama took me to shelters after school. She worked with veterans, folks who couldn't afford therapy. She said everyone deserves to feel human again. I carried her bag. And she taught you this? Jonathan pressed. Yeah. She said the body doesn't always need machines. Sometimes it just needs attention. He tapped Issa's knee. You feel that? Her voice was small. No. That's okay. I'll keep asking. He kept her talking as he worked. Favorite colors, favorite food, favorite shows. At first, she gave short answers. Then she asked him questions. Do you live around here? Kind of. Do you go to school? I used to. Why not anymore? Zeke hesitated. My mom got sick. Then she passed. Issa lowered her eyes. I'm sorry. Thanks, Zeke whispered. Jonathan's posture softened just slightly. 30 minutes later, Zeke tapped her ankle. Do you feel that? Issa blinked. A little. Like pressure. Jonathan narrowed his eyes. She sometimes says that during regular therapy. Yeah, Zeke said. But inside rooms full of machines, kids get scared. They tighten up. Out here, he gestured to the park, the sky, the trees. It's different. Jonathan didn't reply, but he was listening. Zeke guided Issa through stretches, simple toe wiggles. Nothing visible happened, but Issa didn't look discouraged. I'll show you again next week, Zeke said, standing. Your muscles still remember. We just have to remind them. Issa smiled wider. Okay, Jonathan cleared his throat. We're not promising anything. I'm not either, Zeke said. I'm just trying. Jonathan stared at him, then pulled out a folded bill. Zeke stepped back. No, sir, I don't want your money. Jonathan frowned. Then why do this? Zeke shrugged. Because your daughter smiled. Jonathan turned to Issa. She was still smiling. And for the first time. He wondered how a boy who had lost everything could give so much to a girl he barely knew. The following Sunday was warmer. Zeke was there early. Towel laid out, supplies ready, a bottle of water at his side. He wore the same jacket, his helper's coat, his mother once called it. His reminder of why he cared. At noon, the SUV rolled up. Issa grinned before the car even stopped. Hi, Issa, Zeke called. Hi, she chirped. Jonathan looked tired, but less weighed down. He nodded at Zeke. No words, but enough. This time, Issa tried harder. Can you press your heel into the ground? Zeke asked. She closed her eyes, concentrating. Nothing happened. It's okay, he said. Sometimes your brain takes time to find the path, like pushing through a crowd. Jonathan crossed his arms, but not as a shield, just against the cold. Why do you do this? He asked suddenly. Because I remember what it felt like when my mom helped people, Zeke said. She made them feel like they mattered. I want to do that too. Jonathan studied him. Issa tapped her toes lightly. Barely moving, but moving. Jonathan didn't speak. He just watched. Week after week, they returned. Zeke taught Issa with tennis balls, with bands, with patience. He showed Jonathan how to press nerves behind the knees, how to wake silent muscles. And then came the fourth Sunday. When the SUV pulled up, Issa wasn't smiling. Her eyes were red. Jonathan's voice was sharp. "She doesn't want to do it today." He lifted Issa into the chair. She crossed her arms, refusing to look at either of them. Zeke stepped closer, careful. "What happened?" Issa's voice cracked. "I tried to move my legs this morning. Nothing happened. Nothing. I'm tired of trying. It's pointless." Jonathan turned away, jaw locked. "She's been frustrated all weekend." Zeke knelt beside her. "You think I never get tired? You think I didn't sit in a shelter and cry when my mom couldn't afford medicine and I had to watch her fade away?" Ice's eyes shifted toward him. "You're allowed to be mad," he whispered. "I get mad too. But if you stop now, the part of you that wants to walk might stop trying too." Silence. Then Ice's voice, almost a breath. "I'm scared." Jonathan froze. That was the first time she'd said it out loud. Zeke leaned in. "I am too. But scared doesn't mean stop. Scared means you're close to something big." Issa wiped her face. "Okay, let's try again." And they did. Zeke's hands were steady, guiding her gently. Jonathan joined in, shifting her weight, encouraging every twitch. 30 minutes later, Issa's right foot slid forward. Not a toe, her whole foot. Slow, stiff. But it moved. Jonathan dropped to his knees, staring. "Do it again." She did. Zeke didn't cheer. He just smiled quietly, letting the moment belong to her. That night, Jonathan stood outside his house, staring at the moon. He had stopped asking who Zeke really was. It didn't matter anymore. Inside, Issa was giggling, retelling the footslide moment to her aunt. For the first time in 6 months, the house didn't feel like a hospital. It felt like home. But something inside Jonathan was shifting too. Not just his daughter's legs. His own chest. The guilt. The pride. The walls he had built. They were cracking. Monday afternoon. Jonathan sat in his office, contract untouched. His phone buzzed with calls and emails, but none of it felt urgent. What looped in his mind was that moment in the park, his daughter's foot sliding forward like it belonged to her again. And the boy who made it happen was a ghost. He typed into his laptop, Ezekiel Carter Birmingham, almost nothing. Just scattered mentions of Zeke and his mother, Monique Carter, at a community clinic. No address, no records, no trace. Jonathan leaned, back in his chair. This kid was real, but lived like a shadow. By Saturday, they were back at Harrington Park. But things felt different now. Jonathan carried more than his daughter. He brought an extra mat, a fold-out chair. And when Zeke arrived, he handed him a sandwich, said nothing, just set it beside his bag. Zeke nodded. "Thanks." They got to work. Heat packs, stretches, toe flexes. Jonathan joined in fully this time, sat cross-legged in the grass, copying every move Zeke taught. "You're bending the wrong way," Zeke teased. Jonathan smirked. "Haven't stretched since college." Even Issa laughed. Then Zeke pulled a belt from his bag. "Something new today," he said. He slid it under Issa's knees, showing Jonathan how to hold the ends. "She's going to lift both knees. Just a little. We balance her. She controls the movement." Jonathan hesitated. "She's ready?" Zeke nodded. Issa's brow tightened. She grunted, strained, then both knees lifted. Barely an inch. But they lifted. Jonathan's voice broke. "You did that?" Issa smiled. "I did it." He swallowed hard. "You really did." Zeke's eyes stayed on the belt. "The body remembers. You just have to listen long enough." Jonathan looked at him. "You're something else, kid." Zeke didn't answer. He just kept guiding Issa through the stretch. When the session ended, Jonathan crouched beside him. "Where do you go after this?" Zeke shrugged. "Around." "You got a place to sleep?" Zeke hesitated. "Sometimes." Jonathan exhaled. "You ever think about staying with us for a while?" Zeke blinked. "You serious?" "I've got a guest room. After what you've done for my daughter, your family." Zeke stared at his hands. "You sure your neighbors won't mind a kid like me?" Jonathan gave a short laugh. "If they do, they'll answer to me." The next morning, Zeke stood at the Reeves' doorstep, backpack slung over his shoulder, rolled-up blanket under his arm. Jonathan opened the door in sweatpants, coffee mug in hand. "Right on time," Issa's voice rang from the hallway. "Zeke!" He grinned. "Hey, superstar!" Jonathan stepped aside. "Welcome home." The days that followed were quiet, but alive. Zeke had his own room, a soft bed, a desk. He didn't talk much, but every morning he was there for Issa's stretches, and Issa was changing. Both feet now, muscles waking, her brain reaching for what it had forgotten. One night, as Jonathan washed dishes, he glanced over his shoulder. "Zeke, you ever think about going back to school?" Zeke looked up from his sketches at the kitchen table. "You're smart," Jonathan said. "You could go far." Zeke tilted his head. "I just want to help people walk again. Like my mama did." Jonathan turned, drying his hands. "Then we'll figure out how to get you there." Zeke smiled faintly. "Okay." The Reeves house was no longer silent. It was alive with scribbles, laughter, footsteps, healing, and that was when the world started noticing. A nurse from the Children's Medical Center was walking her dog one Sunday. She saw Issa in the park, smiling, lifting her knees, moving her toes. Standing beside her was the same boy she used to see sitting quietly by the hospital doors. She didn't interrupt, just watched. Then went home and told her sister, who worked in patient services. Within days, word was spreading inside the hospital. Issa was improving, and someone wanted to know why. "Is that true?" the nurse asked. Jonathan nodded. "Yeah, thanks to someone we weren't expecting." Word spread fast. The next Sunday at Harrington Park, 2 families waited under the oak tree. A boy with a walker, a girl recovering from a stroke. They'd heard about the kid who helped Issa move her legs. Zeke glanced at Jonathan. Jonathan leaned close. "You don't have to." Zeke tightened the strap on his bag. "I want to." He gave up his session with Issa that day. Instead, he worked with the 2 new kids, showing parents how to warm rice packs, how to stretch with towels, how to encourage without breaking spirits. He didn't talk at the children. He talked to them. "You're not broken," he whispered to one. "You're just learning a different way to be strong." Issa watched from her chair, quiet, proud. On the drive home, she finally said, "I like watching him help people." Jonathan's hands tightened on the wheel. "Yeah," he whispered. "Me too." By the next weekend, 5 families came. The weekend after, 11. A pastor brought folding chairs. A diner dropped off bagels and coffee. Flyers appeared across town. Free movement classes. Sundays at noon, Harrington Park. They didn't print his name, but everyone knew. A reporter came with a notepad. Jonathan pulled Zeke aside. "You okay with this?" Zeke scanned the families, the kids learning to move. Issa laughing with a girl on a walker. He nodded. "As long as it's not about me, it's about them." The story ran in the Birmingham Sunday Post. 9-year-old with a gift helps dozens heal in a city park. No last name. Zeke requested that, but people found out anyway. A doctor offered mentorship. A nonprofit wanted to buy equipment. A tutor volunteered. Free lessons. For the first time since his mother's death, people didn't just look at Zeke. They saw him, but he didn't change. Same towel, Same duct-taped boots, same ritual, and Issa always first. 9 Sundays passed, towels on grass, small victories shared, Issa's knees lifting higher, strangers turning into family. But this Sunday was different. Zeke felt it as they pulled up. The air was warmer. The trees moved slower. Issa sat in the back seat, focused. Ready. A crowd waited at the park. Families, therapists, parents with trembling hope. Zeke unpacked his bag, rolled out the towel. You ready? He asked. Issa nodded, jaw tight. No smile. Just determination. Jonathan wheeled her forward. Zeke knelt in front. Same as before. We help you stand. You do the rest. Jonathan placed his hands under her arms. Zeke steadied her knees. On 3, he whispered. 1, 2, 3. Jonathan lifted. Zeke guided. And Issa stood. Her body trembled. Arms shook. But she was on her feet. The park fell silent. Children gasped. A mother covered her mouth. Issa opened her eyes. A slow smile spread across her face. I'm standing. Zeke's eyes burned. Yeah, you are. Jonathan froze, breath caught in his chest. Then he let go, and Issa stayed standing. He staggered back, voice breaking. She's doing it. Issa took 1 step, another. Then, with the fearless heart of a child, she took a 3rd, before collapsing into her father's arms. Jonathan caught her, laughing and crying all at once. You did it. You really did it. Issa turned to Zeke. You said I would, he smiled. I said we'd try. That afternoon, nobody rushed to leave. Families stayed, hugged, prayed. The park, once filled with silence, now overflowed with life. Later in the kitchen, Jonathan watched Zeke pouring cereal. You changed everything, he said. Zeke didn't look up. I did? Jonathan placed a hand on his shoulder. My daughter walked today, not because of a hospital or a drug, because a boy with nothing showed up again and again, even when no one asked him to. Zeke's voice softened. That's what my mom would have done. Jonathan's throat tightened. I wish she could have seen this. She did. Zeke whispered. She sees everything. Jonathan wiped his eyes. Zeke, you're going to change a lot of lives. Zeke looked up, calm. I already am. Because some people don't need titles or degrees. They carry something greater. Heart, grit, and a reason to keep showing up. Sometimes the most broken people are the ones who carry the tools to heal the world. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. And if you know a kid like Zeke or a girl like Issa, tell them this. You matter. You're needed.